Welcome back, YouTube. On this video, we are going to go over how I service my John Deere Z425 zero-turn mower before the mowing season begins. I'm going to go over how I service my deck and then just go over some checks on the rest of the tractor before the season begins. Before each process that I go over, I'll go over what tools I use. So first, we're going to start with servicing the mower deck. For my first service, I totally removed the deck. And I have another video out on how to remove the deck on your zero-turn mower. So I'll put a link to that here. But I'm going to get this mower and deck off, and then I'll show you what I do. So we have our deck off. And like I say, I only fully take my deck off if I have issues with it, or the beginning of the season, I take it off. So it's just easier for me to check over everything. So I start with looking at my belt, making sure it's not dry rotted and cracked. Everything looks good there. Check your spindles. Make sure they're nice and tight. This one is a tightener, so that one's going to be loose. You can reach under here and feel these. Okay, everything there looks good. Let's go over, before we get any farther, let's go over some of the tools that we'll be using for the deck service. So I have a scraper. Just if there's any grass on the underside of the deck, we can get that scraped off. I have my magnetic pan here, just for if I take any parts off, I can put on here so I don't lose them. These are just the pins for the deck. A fresh sharpened set of blades, 18mm socket to change the blades. I have my air impact wrench, leveling gauges, and a grease gun. But let's get on the underside of this deck. Okay, so we got the deck sitting up. First, we're gonna remove the blades. Okay, we got our old blades off. When you put your blades on, make sure this, on your blade, this beveled edge goes towards the deck. Now we'll just remove any of the grass off the deck here. So let's get the freshly sharpened blades on. So we're going to lay the deck back down. And now I'm going to grease these spindles. Okay, so that's it for this part of the deck. Now I'm going to put the deck back on, and then we're going to level it, or make sure it's level. Okay, guys, so the next part, I got the deck back on, so the next part is leveling the deck. So I've got two of these mower deck leveling gauges. The manual says to set your deck at 3.5 inches cutting height and put your gauges on the blades, the cutting surface of the blades, and measure it that way. And I did that, and mine are showing 3 inches. But first, what we have to do is we got to make sure the pressure in our tires is all equal. Okay, so we've got all our tires are the equal pressure. Like I say, I run mine at 10 psi. Your tire pressure is something you should check before every time you mow. So I have my leveling gauge there. You can see where it's at on that blade. I have the deck height setting at 3.5 inches, and that's what it's reading. Just a little above 3 inches. And on this side, I'm right about the same. To raise the deck here, if you want to raise, you're going to like tighten that nut up, and you're just going to do it a little bit at a time on both sides to do it evenly. It's pretty much level right now. Your cutting height gauge on the tractor is off by almost 1/2 inch. We're going to adjust that up and get this deck level. Okay, for this, you'll need a 15mm socket or wrench. And what you're going to do is you're going to tighten that nut. We'll do it a few turns and then we'll check the deck. So those few turns brought us up to 3.25 inches. So I'm going to run over to the other side and do that one quick. Okay, I brought the other side up a little bit. So now we're going to take this side up a little more. Okay, this side is right at 3.5 inches. Let's check the other side and bring that up. Okay, we raised that other side up, and this side went down a little bit, so we're going to adjust it back up a little bit. One turn there put us back up. The next thing I like to do is remove these and then raise and lower the deck a couple times to make sure it's seated where it's supposed to be, and then we'll recheck it. Okay, so let me show you here. I'd say that's close enough. That's within 1/8 of an inch. And there is the other side. Okay, so we have our deck leveled this way. Now we're going to level it front to back. And it's not really leveled. Like I say, they recommend that the rear be 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch higher than the front. I'm going to get this set up. What we're going to do is that center blade, I'm going to turn it so it's running this way. And I'll get our gauges on it, and we'll see if we're good, if we need to make any adjustments. And maybe Charlie will get out of our way. Okay guys, so I've got the blade running this direction, and I've got the gauges on the cutting edge of it, the lowest part of that blade. And it looks like the front is 1/2 inch lower than the back. Let me show you here. So there's the front. That is less than 3 inches. And the rear is just below 3.5. So here's our front one, and our back one is at 3.5, just below it. So we need to raise the front up. To raise this deck, there's these 2 nuts here that we need to turn in, but there's nuts on the back that kind of keep it tight or from moving. So we got those loosened, and now we're just going to tighten these like if I'm pulling that deck up. Okay, we're going to move this out of the way. We're going to do this equally. Okay, let's check our height. Moved a little bit. 2. Let's see how much that gets us. Okay, I think a couple more turns and we should be there. 1. Okay, we are 1/8 of an inch shy of 3.5. Let me check the back to see if that is still good. So the back is about 1/8 of an inch over 3.5, and we're about 1/8 of an inch under 3.5 here. We're about 1/4 of an inch lower in the front. Raised and lowered the deck a few times. Now let's see what our height is. We're about the same there. Let me check the back. Okay guys, so we've got our deck leveled. Up and down on the sides, that's level. The front's just a shy under 3.5, which that's what we have our height set at. And the back is a little over 3.5. So we're within that 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch lower in the front than the back. So next, what we're going to do is these 2 nuts that we loosened to adjust the front, we're going to tighten them back up. The deck portion of our service is complete. Okay guys, so let's move on to servicing the motor. The very first thing I do in the spring, well, let me back up there. The very first thing I do in the fall at the end of the mowing season is I try to run the tractor out of gas. It does not have a valve on the thing where I can shut it off and let it run out of the motor, but I let it run. I try to run it out. If it's not, I run it down as low as I can, and I put a battery tender on the battery for the winter to make sure my battery stays good for the spring. For the motor, I like to purchase these kits. For this specific tractor, the Z425, John Deere makes a kit. It's the LG268, and it comes with 2 quarts of oil that you need for the motor, your fuel filter, your spark plugs, your new air filter, and your oil filter. So first, what I like to do is I start the motor, let it warm up for a few minutes, get that oil warmed up, and while that's draining, I can do some of the other service. Okay guys, so we let the motor warm up. Now we're going to drain the oil. You guys are actually as if you were sitting on the seat. I have the camera back there. Now right down here is the drain. I already have a drain pan under the tractor, but we just need to turn that a few turns and the oil will start draining. I like to loosen our dipstick to let some air get in there. Now let's get this loosened and get the oil draining. And this is a 10mm wrench and the oil is draining. Okay, so the next part is we can get the spark plugs changed. There's one here, and on the exact opposite end of the tractor is the other one. So we gently remove spark plug cap. Okay, and this specific tractor takes the standard 5/8 inch spark plug socket. Okay, we've got one out. Get that new one in there. Okay, we got that one in there, snugged up, doesn't need to be really tight. And like I said, one is here, the other one is right here. We'll get that changed. Okay, we got the second spark plug changed. While we're right here, we can change the air filter. There's two nuts here. Unscrew those. Take our filter out. One thing I like to do, because as you can see there's grass in there, I like to take a clean rag, stuff in the intake, and get your air hose and gently blow this out. Okay, we have all that grass blown out of there. Remove our rag and we can insert our new filter. Doesn't matter which direction it goes, they're both the same. It just sits in there like that. Put our cover back on. Tighten these two bolts back down, and that's that. And then the next is the fuel filter and the oil filter. Our oil is finished draining, so I'm going to tighten that plug up. Okay, our drain plug is tight. We're going to put our dipstick back in. Here is the fuel filter. There is the oil filter. So I moved the drain pan under this, so in case because we're going to have some gas dripping, and also the oil is going to drain out of the filter. We'll do the fuel filter first, so we can take that off and crimp both those hoses. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some small vice grips on each end of the hose here, and then there is some clamps on each end. So there's that clamp. So all we got to do is squeeze that and slide it up out of the way, and then there's one underneath it on the other side, right there. Okay, that one's out of our way. And on the new filter, you can see it there. I'm going to try and turn it so you can see it right there. See the arrow? It's going from the tank into the motor. Okay, so we'll remove this old one. Just got to turn them a little bit, get them to break free. See with that clamp on there, we're not losing any fuel. Lost some out of the filter there. We'll add the new filter. Our new filter is on, and then we'll move our clamps. Okay, we've got both our clamps back in place. We can remove these vice grips. And next is getting that oil filter off. Okay, we have our filter wrench. And like I said before, I can't get you down in there, but here's the filter. Let's get that loosened up. Okay, we'll let that filter drain a little bit. Try and remove it without making a mess. Okay, we got the old filter off, and we need to make sure the rubber gasket stayed. Take a little of this old oil, rub on our new gasket. Okay, now we will start the new filter on. Okay, we have our filter hand tight, and we'll tighten this filter. Okay, get a rag, see if there's anything else to clean up in here. The only thing left is to put some oil in it. Okay, we're back. You're sitting like backwards on the seat looking down, and here's our dipstick. We're going to remove that, make sure we clean off any excess oil that was on it so we don't make a mess. Wipe this off. I'm going to get a funnel in it. We're going to add a quart. Okay, we have 1 quart in it. We're going to let that settle and check our level. We're still low, way below the add mark. So let's add some more oil. And I don't know if you can see that, but we are right at the full mark. Okay, guys, so that was the service that I perform on my zero-turn mower every spring before the cutting season. I thank you all for watching. Let me know if there's anything you guys do different, anything better you found easier to do, anything else I should be doing, something I shouldn't be doing, something I'm doing wrong. But I just thank you guys for watching. Leave me a comment, hit that like button, and smash the subscribe button. And we will see you on the next video.